Greetings. So, uh, a lot continues to come forth for the Black community, the Black and Brown and people of color, to reckon with and to see. So, quite often I sit quietly and I wonder if people are going to connect the dots or if people will not be complacent. Because it's not about being a martyr to save folks. That's an illusion. No one is going to save someone or snatch somebody necessarily out of a cult, particularly once they've reached adult age. But information has come forth so that people can see the patterns, and it will more information will continue to come forth. Con artists and cult leaders, in particular, they want to silence you. They don't want you to reveal the inner workings and the patterns of the cult, so you can remain unaware, whether this is men or women. I can say quite clearly that one of the main targets is women, single mothers, and young girls. Right? These are some of or pretty much the main targets of cults. A cult leader needs males and females. And as this one particular cult leader has said, as his son asked him, why do you spend so much time with the women? And he said out of his mouth, I have to focus on the women first. He has also said that his credibility comes from being able to use women as an example. So when you see women, groups of women who are loyal, and who have had some kind of professional background or are seemingly intelligent women following a man, these are just social cues. Most people see this person as someone to look up to, because if women are following this person and trusting, this makes people open up their heartstrings. If we really consider the fact that we think quite often and process information in pictures, in our emotions, and advertisers and con artists alike understand how to use words and pictures to trigger people to get a response. So the cult leader definitely wants to silence you. They don't want you to speak out. Everything can't be said on the internet, and there's information out there, not just from me. There's information, so at this point, people can connect the dots. By now, it should be very clear that some people are going to go to cults anyway, even with all of the information that is put out. That's something that's reckoned with and accepted. If people are trying to run from something, or they think there's an easy way out, or if they're trading off Jesus or their particular religion for a living version, a living, walking version of a savior that speaks a language that they like, that comes in a package that they prefer, that's out there. So it has become very, very apparent and more present that as a collective and a people, and it's understandable, we follow a lot, and when we become attached to someone, the package, or when they say words that stir our emotions, we will follow these people, and it's very, very dangerous. The personality worship, the personality and the charisma and the package of what is packaged online. As I've expressed in other videos, you don't know these people online. And it's unfortunate that because someone shows pictures of aunts and fruits and vegetables and shows these seeming pictures of family, which are things that we want to see in our heart's desire, it blinds us, number one. And quite often, we don't do due diligence, and we put the brakes on doing thorough research. It doesn't matter that this man is in his 70s. It has become apparent in all the different things over time that did not add up. That women and girls have been mishandled. Young women have been mishandled. I don't care how much shells and pictures and gardens that you see, that is one side that you don't see. And it's become very, very apparent that women and men are overlooking these behaviors because their ego is being stroked, or the cult leader is playing daddy to some folks that feel they're missing a father figure, or he's making them feel good about certain off behaviors, either in their personal relationships, their intimate relationships, or in not having to clean up, whether it's infidelities or children that haven't been taken care of. If we just call it what it is, it's manipulation, and it's coming in packages of locks and of pictures of things that we want to see in our so-called heart's desire. So yes, it will be pushed through basketball, through fruits and vegetables, and so on. So while people are busy being entertained, is one of the reasons why it doesn't make sense to come onto online to rant and go on and on and on. As we have seen, everything is unfolding. More information is coming forth. I don't know how much more information can come forth. Very clear that's what part of the reason why people are riveted to it. One, because it's a distraction. Number two, because it's showing things that are playing out throughout our community, and it's also showing people patterns. Although people may think that this is black and white, to really understand mind manipulation. And in mind manipulation, quite often things are hidden in plain sight. A lot of these cult leaders will tell you, some will tell you and some will be slick, but some will tell you right out what they're going to do to you. It is also very apparent that there are links in these con artists and cult leaders. They take lessons from each other. They school each other, the younger, the older ones. Some sit back in the cut and are learning from the ones that have gotten busted and taken down. So if we just make it real plain, these cult leaders want to silence you. Many people don't want to be bothered or don't want to speak up, because then it destroys, so-called messes with the image that we have in our head that we're holding on to for dear life. But I'm here to say to you that the silence is not working. The silence is not working. So, if it's really about silence, I challenge the cult leader to take it to court. It should have been done a long time ago. And when they want to put all kinds of emails and things out, put all the emails out on both sides, right? And make sure while you're doing that, you include all the children that are not taken care of, that are seated, and make sure that all the mates that have disappeared, that they're put there, and all the people that haven't spoken out, all the people that disappeared, that have come forth. You see, everything hasn't been put online. And yes, as a mother, I'm very considerate and cognizant of young people that are born into a cult and their innocent family members that are affiliated with the cult. So I'm a mother. While I don't want to see harm, come to these people, the responsibility and the accountability cannot be ignored. And one of the things that the cult leader banks on is hiding behind women and children and using women and children as a shield. So let's be very clear. At this point, if you look at the folks that are drunk and needy for attention, some of the very natural desires that are being exploited, it is crystal clear a lot of the patterns that have shown up. People's trauma being manipulated, people's monies being manipulated. Everything is not going to be put online. So folks are focusing sometimes on the wrong things, or the things that are not going to render us ineffective. Because after you come off of line and being entertained by this stuff, what kind of greetings, what kind of position does this put you in to do something? It is high time that folks stop just looking as if this is happening to somebody else and realize that we are all being affected. It's also become glaringly clear that a lot, women folk and men folk, let's address both. Many men folk are not going to bring attention to what's going on in the cults, because of whether you call it a cult or not. Many people don't want to bring attention, whether it's the music industry, the religious industry, and in this case, the cult, the cultural conscious cults don't want attention drawn to the inappropriate behavior, sexual appetites and behaviors that they are overlooking, and that behind closed doors that is going on, right? If many women knew this, maybe they wouldn't be so fast to run towards these cult leaders. The flip side is that, and then many men, if they're either slapping five or they're overlooking the different behaviors, you don't talk about the young girls I got over here, and I won't talk about yours. You won't talk about, your lack of taking responsibility for the children that you see, that you seeded and you're not taking care of, and I won't call you out on yours, right? So with the men folks, many are covering for it because they don't want to address their own behaviors. With the women folk, many women are not going to call attention to it because they might lose their mate or their source of attention and ego stroking and dealing with the fact that they're not in a relationship and this whole blown out drama around being alone and so forth. It's unfortunate, but many women are going to turn a blind eye to women, young women being mishandled and brainwashed. Not only will women turn a blind eye, but women will also participate in grooming others, some known and some in ignorance, not realizing that they are being used to lure other young women and girls and single mothers in there, along with their resources. And let's not get it twisted. The resources are not only financial resources, the resources are people's skills that they come with, and the resources also people's wombs, right? To have anchor babies, to anchor them into the cults, right? So, I'm just going to keep it, I'm keeping it real, simple, and raw. The cult leader wants us to be silenced. So if I'm going to come and I'm going to express, I'm going to make every effort, again, to encourage you folks, rather than look how many people have taken the time to educate themselves and watch any of the videos in the playlist on these cults. Some of it is happening real time. Some of it, a lot of it is happening behind closed doors, behind the outfits and all the drama and the so-called labels of veganism and all this other stuff. There's follow the money trail, follow the trail to the people that have disappeared, follow the trail of accountability. Where's any kind of accountability in the Black community, right? We want to talk so much about the system and the white man. Where's any accountability for mishandling of young women, girls, children, money, scamming? There has been no accountability in the Black community. So when individuals speak up, often you will speak up alone. And then folks want to come and focus on your tone, or you're speaking too loud, or you're not feminine. It's not time for that. It's time for clarity. So it's not about being a martyr. They want to silence. But I say this very clearly to anyone that is awake and have an ear. If you think this doesn't affect the so-called community of Black folks, even as individuals on the individuals or on the whole, then you're mistaken. And I don't know what it is we're waiting for, if we're just so numb or burnt out or whatever, that we're so complacent that it's like, it's just taking turns running the train on people's minds. Black or white, the patterns are distinct and 110% on. So if anyone is concerned and thumbs up in, here's the primary concerns. Number one, safety. Number two, holding people legally responsible. Number three, doing your research to all parties involved, particularly adults. If folks are born into a cult, there's not too much you can do unless there's so-called physical safety. And again, a lot of this stuff you're not going to see. But I can tell you this one particular cult leader, as there are many, is extremely savvy and is not stupid, is quite brilliant. So again, while folks are focusing on the superficial things, I can tell you the folks that think male and female that you can't be gotten by a cult, things are often hidden in plain sight. And it's explained through a lot of jargon and rhetoric. And people wanting so badly to believe in someone that you don't know. And belief systems. And the belief systems will have you tripped out, Black or white. You don't know these people on the internet. Even when you research, you cannot vouch for their character, these people that you have not lived with. So while you're sending donations, I'm not going to send to this one. I'm going to send to this one because this one is my preference. You are supporting these con artists. And as long as we support any of them, whether they be in our households and your places of worship or on the cultural scene, it's not that time anymore. It's not that time anymore. So I feel for people that were born in cults. But the time of abusing women and children, there's some women that are going to go along with it. And it takes a lot of guts not to be accepted by the sisterhood to speak up. Because when you speak up and you walk out, quite often you are going to be alone. You are going to be alone when you speak up. because many of us are so scattered, not knowing what to do. We can't focus on simple things like security and holding people financially accountable. Make clear agreements with folks. I encourage you to stop following these people that are telling you a bunch of rhetoric in your ear because you missed your father or your mother, and hold these folks accountable. You don't know who you're speaking to on the internet, but I tell you this: if you want to do something, go and check into the embassy and check out. Many people are not going to come forth online because they don't want their families to be exploited, and some quite often are embarrassed that they got taken by these individuals. But as we're watching these patterns, and whether we call it religion or not, so-called consciousness has become the new religion in our community, just like vegan foods, being vegan. And many of us are followers to varying different degrees and levels. But the goal is to silence you so that you don't speak up. And you come after. If you want to come up to some character, I invite this cult leader. Long time should have happened. Let's go to court. Let's go to court. Because as much as people want to talk, unfortunately, the thing they don't want is the system of the quote unquote white man. And as this person said, in terms of pale consciousness, it goes beyond the color of one's skin. So actually, cult leaders and religious con men, they're actually telling you a lot of truths, but they didn't make universal truths up. These are patterns. They borrow universal truths and mix it with tons of manipulation. They're quite crafty. The goal is to silence, but there won't be any silence. Because this Black woman, let me tell you, all human beings have issues. They may have issues in their families and this and that and things of life. But nobody deserves to be scammed out of their hard-earned money, aka life energy, as this person wants to say. Nobody deserves to be manipulated. And so when we keep shutting our mouths, it continues to go on. Right? It's nothing, for us to be nice and polite to predators, because I guarantee you they're not giving you the same consideration. So let's take it to court. Let's take it to court. Yeah, I go past these people all the time, and the worst thing they want is for attention to come to them, right? So if you're speaking up, you're harassing the cult leader, really? When I tell you folks are not seeing everything, there's a whole lot that is not online because you have to move intelligently. I'm watching a father right now handle his business. This is not the show-offy stuff for the show for the internet. These are people's real lives. This is not a video game. And we can keep romanticizing. The romance is gone. The romancing, the and a sar and a set, they're just basic universal principles. If you close all the books, you don't need a book to tell you how to not scam people and to treat people with dignity and respect. So, hey, I could tell you, got taken to school, romanticizing these people and these leaders. They're human beings, and they will turn you out, male and female. You better believe it. But the goal is to silence. So I feel for the people born into cults. I feel for the young people, but it's no that are born into cults or that are related to them. But there's nothing sometimes you can do about who your family members are and different things that they do. But they must be held accountable. And it's not about me coming online to be a martyr. So they're trying to shut recently the channel down. I'm sure they don't want me to speak out, but I'm just moving. I'm continuing moving. Everything cannot be said on the internet. But what are you folks going to do? Ask yourselves, if you're watching this, do you think that any of this stuff affects any of you or your grandchildren or your mothers? Or as many people as the cult leaders are very well aware, don't even care beyond the entertainment factor, and folks just go on about their own lives. They bank on that. They bank on that. So all of us are accountable also for allowing this stuff to continue to go on, and not for vetting the people that are around women and children, and not because we're not asking for healthy boundaries even in our dealings with each other. We get upset and we get offended in those rare times people don't allow you into their personal space. But it is time for us to use healthy boundaries and to vet people properly. But I can tell you, this cult leader wants to silence me. It's not going to happen. And I will not walk in fear. I will not walk in fear. I've come too far to secure a young Black man. However that turns out, it turns out. But you can't tell me my intentions. You can't tell me my work. I didn't sit around. I didn't wait for government grants or other people to do something. I'm a woman. I'm a Black woman. I'm a sister that took it upon myself to support a community and someone I thought that was doing something. Got taken to school. When I got there and I saw certain patterns were off, they were off. Without the contamination and manipulation, could have been a beautiful thing. But for me to hold on to some romanticism as I'm watching the breakdowns and I'm watching the people disappear, if I had not come out and spoken on social media, all the different people, so many that had disappeared, wouldn't have come out and spoke up. So don't get it twisted somewhere out there, Mr. Joseph Robinson, or any of your mates, Stepford wives. I have compassion for Black folks and my folks. But let's not get it twisted with accountability for behavior. So let's bring it to court. Let's bring it with the accountability. You don't deal with police. 1 minute you're dealing with culture and consciousness, and you don't deal with legalities and lawyers, and the next minute you do when it's convenient. See, I'm inviting all of you people of color, people in general, but I'm inviting you people, put your thinking caps on and your critical thinking. And put your preferences to the side and look at behaviors and not look at all the onks and the bindies and the locks, because you don't know these people. And we're constantly having trains run on us. If it wasn't white folks, now we have Black folks that have gotten hip to the same game and running the same game on us. And we don't need it. Think for yourself. Forget the locks. Forget the nice sayings. People trying to stick you for your paper, have you pay for them and the children that they're not taking care of, and making all kinds of excuses for it. Total lack of responsibility and playing at your heartstrings. Nothing wrong with fruits and vegetables. Grow your own, whether you're in the city or in the cold. There's YouTube. You can figure out how to do it. It's not rocket science. We can figure out how to do it. There is no Messiah. Look in the mirror. But they want to silence your common sense and your critical thinking. So the mystery God and all of this we've just replaced the God out there and the Jesus. We replace it with some Black versions or the version that you like. That's where we're getting twisted up, because it looks like the illusion of sisterhood, or you want to fight so badly to get into something. You don't even know what you're fighting to get into. It's all being played. I sit back quietly, hoping that Black folks will connect, Black and brown will connect the dots. There's so much information, long time has been right there in front of everybody's face and everybody's nose. The younger generation and the older generation. It is time. You're not going to get a pass anymore because you got locks, because you got a degree, because you're kicking some so-called consciousness. It's all come forth. The patterns for people to see. The patterns have come forth for us to see. So it's all about responsibility and respect, self-respect. Choose better, folks. But people don't want you, the cult leader, and this is just one flavor, doesn't want you to speak up. It's uncomfortable. You think it feels good to have to say this about somebody that looks like me, that you're putting trust in? It is what it is. I make sure your daughters, I hope you have your daughters. I hope you do, because it's not about stupidity. Sometimes it's ignorance. There's a difference between willful ignorance and ignorance and you're just unaware of patterns. That can be people in their 40s and their 50s. If you're not thinking like a predator, then you're not aware of certain patterns. It's simple patterns. Educate yourself. It's like Black folks that did in 2019 not knowing how to read. It's like it's not knowing how to read, not knowing how to read a contract. There's so many things that have had consistent results, and we still won't be accountable. We're just wanting to escape. Some of us are tripping out on psychedelics, or tripping out, just think we're going to go off, into the jungle, and we don't have to work in those responsibilities. Me and my sister just kicking it the other day. It appeared you didn't have to work in the cult. And there's so much stuff I couldn't even tell you in a video or two. Oh, you're working in the cult. You better believe you're working in the cult. And the folks that are outside watching, you're working to send in all of these cult leaders, young and old, your Babylon bucks, right? So for people to keep touting stuff in front of, cruelty-free and, veganism, but they don't know how to treat human beings, give me a break. You don't need a book. You don't need a book to tell you about your vices. Just deal with them. We don't need necessarily a book to tell us how to treat people. That wanting to look for a savior, or wanting to look for the savior, black man or black woman, nobody's coming to save you if you don't use your common sense. It's like at this point in time, 2019, going on having unprotected sex. Not just physically you're going to catch something, but people at this point, come on, maybe young people, maybe they're the only ones that get to a certain degree of a pass before ignorance. But even they're not exempt from, you make a decision, you're going to have to live with the repercussions of that decision for the rest of your life, whether you are ignorant or not. You get an STD, you're going to live with it for the rest of your life. You make children, you're going to live with it for the rest of your life. If you don't learn to read and get some kind of education, you're going to deal with it for the rest of your life. There is no escape from responsibility. So some of us just have not been exposed to certain things. You've only got but so much of a bandwidth for things that you can think about during the course of the day. Cult leaders know it. When you come into a new environment, the people that are already there know that you can't see. It's understandable, but it's also disgusting and a shame that women are I get it. I get the why. But that women are turning a blind eye and they're helping in the grooming process of the next woman. And that is what the cult leader is using them for. Facts. The women are used as the example to train the next group of women into it. I don't care if it's coming from Africa, if it's white or black, if it's cultish, if it is what it is. So we're going to wake up and start using our common sense or what? Check these folks out. There are ringleaders, and the younger cult leaders are studying and under the tutelage of older ones that have already done some of the steps. So they're just refining the steps. Again, the younger cult leaders, they're studying, religious leaders, they're studying the prosperity and the poverty pimps. They're studying the other cult leaders to see what they got right and what they can refine upon. A predator is going to sharpen his game. Understand that, males and females. They're going to play to your heartstrings and to your insecurities. And while you're busy trusting and confiding in them, they are auditing you. And when you're cutting yourself off from your family members that eat meat and that have Babylon jobs and stuff like that, these people have other skill sets and other wisdom and other family ties that protect you. All of this judging each other, while the cult leaders telling you about Willie Lynch, they have us divided up amongst each other. Some of that might be 300 pounds of smoking a cigarette might save your life. They're just human beings. You don't know about the diseases going on in these cults. You don't know that someone ain't as healthy as they're putting out. These are regular human beings. But the cult leader at the top is the top manipulator. And I guarantee you, he's training the next generation of young men to run the same game. So I haven't even begun to say a fraction of what's going on. My main concern is my safety. That's right, it's my safety. I'm not here to be a martyr for folks who are here to only be entertained and focus on some superficial behavior. As I've said before, let me see any of you out there have your young family member or your child or adult offspring or whatever inside of a cult, and the savings that you've worked up for, and when you realize you've been sold a fake healing program, and let me see how nice and polite any of you folks are going to be. To be quite honest, I think I did pretty good for maintaining some type of calm. Stand on the side of a road with trying to get a signal on a tethering device with the cult member's clothes on, with his one of his mates, one of the ringleaders, one of his main flying monkeys. Flying monkeys is a term used in cults that they, one of the people that they use to bring others in. Let me see anybody in that situation. I'd love to know how level-headed they would be in even articulating themselves. If they would find a way to get across a country in an area they're not familiar with where the family member is still inside the cult. There's so much you folks can't see on camera. These are edited movies and films. It's put out so that a picture is painted, so you give up your Babylon bucks, or that women will go over and give up your wounds, your resources, and your skills for the sake of these egomaniacs. Grow your own fruits and vegetables, even if they're in containers or in pots, instead of giving these folks who are already straight all your hard-earned money and energy and your allegiance and your loyalty. It's a shame. It's a disgusting shame. But he didn't make the unk, so he can't break it. He didn't make me, so you can't break me. My simple grandmother, and I had some godparents that gave me some kind of common sense. This took me to another level of school. Every day I have to contemplate, how was I vulnerable and what was the desires I wanted to see. But out of the fear, I have to preserve my son and black. Your intentions and your desires will blind you. But I'm here to tell you, the cult leader that wants to silence me, that manipulating of women and children, it's a wrap. So that's right, y'all. Anyone looking at this channel, that's right. Get a good look at this brown face. As one of his mates said, the so-called Queen Mother, those who give the most are the worst. Oh, really? Oh, really? That's right. That's right. I haven't said a fraction of what goes on. If it was so swell, I would still be in there. So I don't regret my intentions for supporting a community and somebody I thought that was doing something. But the reality is romanticizing these people you don't know, not having clear agreements, not looking to see their records. And even if you go to do research, which you should, you're not going to see everything online. When these folks are older than you, these younger girls coming on, how are they going to cross-reference these con artists? Because all the women in the camp, they're trying to tell you what you want to hear. These young people, they're hearing concepts that they haven't heard before, and they're in an isolated environment. So let's stop acting like we don't understand how people can be exploited. We're exploited every day on varying different levels. But this is a twist. Somebody that looks like us and is manipulating people in the worst way. And this is giving us a snapshot, an insight into what's happening with us on a larger level. If you think we are all not affected by what's going on in these cults, think again. That's why, from my simple observation, why all of this stuff is coming forth for us to see it so raw, and it's relentless. Just like the cult lady said, the devil don't take a day off. Well, this energy and manipulators don't take a day off. Because they're going for hell or bust. I'm not even here trying to preach. And I don't want to mention the other cat's name. But believe me when I tell you, every time I see his cult first, the patterns are the same as the older one. It just has so-called raw foods on it, like it's a religion. Listen to me again. The patterns the energy are the same. The isolation, the not being able to speak to people without you being escorted everywhere. All of your emails and your communications are being filtered. How do you think their parents feel? How do you think the parents of these other cult members feel? How do you think they feel? You're not gonna get them to come online because they're traumatized. The main thing they care about is that their children are okay. It's not a cut and dry black and white situation. So what can we do? I don't have all of the solutions. I'm speaking up. Are you folks gonna start to speak up? I'm not the PTA president. I'm someone that's simply sharing my simple experience. You can judge it if you want and miss the information of the patterns that I'm sharing with you. Hopefully you put on your children or young folks or even yourself before you get scammed even in a relationship. But it's not about me being the leader or the president. I'm just a simple woman who came open and giving. I'm not a human being, not without flaws, but there's no way that somebody can tell me that I deserve to be scammed or manipulated and don't even deserve the justice of money that I gave for land is bigger than that. You can keep the other stuff. At least the money that we gave for land that we don't deserve that. Let's take it to court. Should have took it to court a long time ago. They don't want any scrutiny put upon them. That's why he hides behind women and children. And I feel for the family members. I feel for the family members. But Black folks are complacent and won't speak up. So you see all of those spells, it's not feminine and I won't be chosen. I don't need to be chosen by somebody that can't be spoken. I'm not waiting to be chosen. I'm a woman. I'm a mother. I came giving. I came trusting. I did some degree of research on this man, and it still wasn't enough. So if nothing else, I hope you folks are seeing the patterns. And I hope you see, I'm not looking tomorrow to end up in the newspaper to be a martyr for people that don't care, that are being entertained on the internet and going back and forth with folks. I got stuff to do. But also they bank on you being so tired and exhausted. You're going to be too tired and exhausted to do any research, to vet anybody. Vet everybody, white and Black. High time we develop some healthy boundaries, even in our interactions with each other. It's not for us to be preaching. I'm not a preacher. I'm a mother. I have a garden. I want to garden. I want to live my simple life. But you're not going to silence this mother. You're not going to silence me. I'm not impressed by your raw foods. I'm not impressed by you eating fruits and vegetables at the sake of you manipulating young women and children. It's disgusting. It's disgusting. And shame on us for not speaking up. Now we know better. What the heck are we going to do about it? Think about it. Don't have me try to come up with all the solutions. What can all you folks come up with? What kind of vetting, as I've said before, we're going to put in place? And will folks take the time, sometime, to do some research? As I said, there's a long list of Black cults. How much do we have? There's so much information is right there. It's hidden in plain sight. I'm just waiting for people to connect the dots. I don't have the time to wait. I'm not walking in fear, because I'll defend. That's the other thing. We're so tripped out on all this religious stuff that has been just transferred from Jesus now to a Black version with some fruits and vegetables and blah. We don't even think to defend ourselves. Check it for you folks that want to relocate to the tropics. Security is a fact of life on the planet. Security is a fact of life, women. Security. Does that make you less feminine? No. Security is a fact of life. So while we're eating because we're depressed and all that other stuff and holding all that depression, and we're not fit enough to defend ourselves, defend our children, and we're too sluggish in our brains, this is not just about veganism. This is about health. This is about motivating yourself. We're taking that responsibility and putting it on to other people to do it for us. And the trade-off is not worth it when you hand over responsibility of your life to someone else. Young people, if there are any young people out there in their 20s, it's not worth it. It's not worth it. Use your common sense. Ask questions. Pay attention to the patterns if folks have a problem with you asking questions, as this one did. When they don't want to give you back your passport, as this one did. Yeah, there's stuff going on out in the world, but let folks keep deep checking you with the fear mongering. Out in the jungle, there's snakes and predators. It's a fact of life. But folks got us tripped out in fear mode. All this consciousness has gotten us like even more paralyzed in the Black community. This is basic stuff. So I'm here to tell you, the silence. No, I'm not interested in coming on here to preach, be somebody's martyr, or somebody's feel-good conversation. I'm here to encourage you, take responsibility. Take responsibility with your spending. I can't tell you how many people say, oh, what kind of work do you do? You're so rich. Wealthy people underestimate your spending habits. You see me walk around with nails and eyelashes and stuff on? It's called saving. It's called growing some of your own food. How do you think I got to the tropics? So-called tropics, to a warmer environment. This is not fantasy land. This is real life. I've said to people, if you want to travel, you can travel. Do your due diligence. But if you come looking for something for free, so many people, how much is an acre of land? That you don't see it. That's how you're going to get got. Because you're trying to come into a new environment. These people know that you can't see by the very actions that the questions that you're asking. Yes, intelligent people, music is used to brainwash people. I'm pretty decently, got a decent amount of sense. Music is so many subtleties. There's so many subtleties to mind control. But nobody is above it. Sorry to tell you. Nobody is above mind control. Many of the women that are in here, their resources are tapped. They've got anchor babies in there. Where are they going to go? What woman is going to turn away from her children? And her resources are gone. That was the goal, to get us at the end to surrender our bank accounts. But there was no trust. I was told, you just have to trust the high priest. No, I don't. Trust is earned. There's so many patterns you people cannot see online. And even though we're looking at some of these young people going into cults, they're showing us things that we're not taking care of, and the result of the irresponsibility of making children that we did not have the time for and that we're not planned for. This is not an insult or to say that children are wrong, but all of this stuff is coming up to show us where we missed the mark, or where we just, that's too esoteric, where we were irresponsible, and with choices we made even out of ignorance come back to bite us. We have to deal with the consequences of choices we made, whether we were ignorant or not. Whether you have good intentions or not, you choose to go into one of these cults, you're impregnated, mental damage is done. Even if you're a nice person, you're going to have to deal with the consequences. If you have family members on the cult, or if the cult member might be somebody in your family, that's not your fault. It's unfortunate. Some people are born into cults. This is real life, not romanticism and religion. We are being manipulated constantly. And at this point, there's enough. We want to talk about divine intervention. It's simple. All of this stuff has come to the surface in order for us to see it clearly. Sit back and marinate and say, are we still going to allow ourselves to be vulnerable to these patterns because we want to be polite? We'll watch all of this information and not challenge something, because you can be respectful. That's all we do, is to respect ourselves first and everyone, old and young. But because somebody's in their 70s or their 80s, that doesn't mean they're not a criminal and a con artist. Doesn't mean that certain things are beyond women. Women can manipulate too. Women can do foul too. So all of this stuff of giving people passes, it's not working. It's a big contributor to our whole community being in a hot, stinking mess. And that is what these cult leaders and con artists take full advantage of. I'm not here to preach. What the heck? What is that going to do? I'm simply sharing what can be more effective, sharing some of the patterns. And in our silence, us wanting to be comfortable and not ruffle any feathers, and so-called this feigned respect, we won't speak up and ask the uncomfortable questions. We can be respectful, but ask the uncomfortable questions. Have the uncomfortable conversations and set healthy boundaries when it comes to money dealings, people around your children, and anybody trying to tote some kind of a doctrine to you. Anyone, I don't care who it is. Any of the Abrahamic religions, gurus, whatever. Ashrams been exposed, to a lot of them. There are some distinct patterns, which is why I keep encouraging you folks, learn how to read, Black folks. Do your research. Take the time, make some kind of time for research and learning so we can stop repeating the same patterns. If you don't understand the pattern, you're likely to repeat it or to get involved in something. Or you folks fantasizing about going to the tropics because you didn't take the time to learn the patterns. You're not just unaware. There were people there before you got there that are living and dealing with the challenges of that particular environment that you're trying to go into. There's no place where you're going to go where you don't have to do some kind of work, generate some kind of income, be concerned about who your neighbors are, have some kind of security, deal with what's going on in the weather, deal with the demand or whatever's available in terms of food in the environment. These are some basic things. So it shows to a certain degree how far behind we are. Part of it is because we're always in survival mode. So some of us are getting caught out there, especially young people, because we haven't been exposed to anything. So perhaps I invite folks to slow your roll and focus on the things that are going to be effective. What are the patterns? What can you pull from these conversations? I don't know, they're trying to shut down this particular channel. Do what you need to do. But I'm going to do what I need to do as a woman and as a mother. And again, it's as people ask me questions, folks think I'm a woman. I can't say everything online. I put out quite enough information for folks to see patterns. It's not about everybody knowing all the ins and outs of my life. Know enough because you have to vet everybody, including me. But I put out more than enough information for people to do their own research and have respect for themselves, do due diligence, and be responsible, and stop sending these people your money. Stop supporting them. We talk about not supporting certain businesses, that exploit us. If it's black and it's off, don't support it either because it has the same skin color and because it's selling you the hopes and dreams of what you want to hear. You're supporting, you're feeding, so you're empowering these people to continue to manipulate more young people. So there's an effort made to shut down this channel and me speaking and me voicing and expressing. I'm going to continue to express. If you put me in front of anybody, judge, old or younger, I'm going to say the same simple thing. The same simple thing. And I could tell you, women, mothers, girls, and fathers. Women, single mothers, you are a target. Straight up. Girls, women, single mothers, mothers of sons, you are a target. It is what it is. If you're feeling less than confident, if you're feeling like, you have some health issues, you are a target. Young men, you got issues with your father and haven't learned putting certain things into place and you're still holding on to what you think your father should have done and didn't. You are a target. You won't take the time to spend your money so you save your money so you can travel, and you feel like this is the quick, easy way out. You are a target. Mothers looking to save your children, looking for mentors, and this is unfortunate. You are a target. The best thing that we could do is clean up our own lives and be respectful. Respect comes first to yourself, and responsibility. We underestimate being financially responsible with whatever the money you have. Being responsible with your genitals. I'm just going to keep it real. Being responsible with our genitals could save us so much pain and suffering. And I get that many young people, that maybe their parents, they don't have that kind of guidance there. But at this point, if you're going to be a young kamikaze to pay back what your parents didn't do, you're going to get yourself in a situation worse, most likely, than what your parents were in. And you're going to be humble. So it's not an excuse just to expose yourself to all kinds of foolishness. I'm just watching what's going on. Oh, these people are vegan. Go back to vegan. Who cares about the labels? Focus on your health. I sit back and I look at it, and it's interesting because I did all this years ago. I was vegan many, many years ago, coming out of high school for many years and went back for this amount of years. And then that's your personal development. This stuff is not religion. This stuff is not religion. It's a simple way of life. Just choose health without all the labels to divide us. Choose health, treat people with respect, be responsible with your finances, be responsible with your genitals. Do we need a religion for that? I don't think so. It's not rocket science. Be picky and choosy with who you're choosing as a mate. Stop trying to manipulate other people into relationships. This stuff is simple. I'm saying this may not be as simple for a young person that doesn't have any guidance. I'm just keeping it simple and real. So the so-called man is so-called legally blind, and his folks are trying to shut this down and shut down the channel. Do what you got to do, because as a woman and mother, I'm going to do what I want to do. So I'm asking you folks, make sure you keep a lookout for your sister over here, or a woman, however you want to see me, somebody, if you got any value out of this channel. Maybe you make a call to the embassy. Maybe you'll choose to educate yourself.Maybe you're looking to see if we're still alive or breathing or not. Or maybe folks will continue to be entertained, right? These are things for us to even look at in our own personal relationship. Or you're around people that are responsible. Or you're around people that are responsible with their own health, with their own safety, with their own finances, with their own genitals. Those are the kind of folks that you want to surround yourself with. So, I don't have any fancy stuff. I don't have no groups or communities for anybody to join. Anybody who I'm supposed to interact with will show up. And I have learned, even though many of our folks are uncomfortable, give people time. Give yourself time to get to know people. You don't know people. You don't know them under stress, duress, when resources get tight. You don't know if they're responsible. You know if they're responsible with their genitals. You know if they don't take care of their children. Red flag people. If somebody don't take care of their children, then what they're going to do for you? For the person that said that their children and their daughters are watching? If their daughters are watching, and somebody said this to me, I learned late. If the person is not taking care of the children they already had, what makes you think they're going to take care of your children? So these cult leaders don't even take care of all the children. You all don't know it, but we're following people. Yes, Baba. Yes, Elder. They're human beings. They're flawed. But it's the addiction to worshiping people, like that's going to take away the responsibility of what we need to do for ourselves. What we want isn't always what we need. These guys are telling you some universal truths. Universal truths are not exclusive to any meditation center, gurus, religions. They're just universal truths. They're being packaged up with tons of manipulation. It's not hard to manipulate human beings because quite often we're making decisions from our emotions and from trauma that we have been triggered by. We're not taking the time to understand basic psychology. Parents, please take the time to learn about decision-making, human psychology with your children or with the young people that are around you so we can understand manipulation is real. So we cannot be so clouded and make some clear decisions. If anything, if we can educate young people in a very practical sense, be responsible with your genitals. Be responsible with your money and your time. Don't follow folks just because you like them. Vet everybody because you don't know them. Take a long enough time to get to know people, particularly when you don't live with them. The average person has a social media profile that is designed and all made up to show you what you want to see. It's like dating websites. You don't know these people on the internet. You don't know these. Yeah, they're giving Baba a bad name. They're giving Baba a bad name. They're trying to give Baba a bad name. They're giving Nana a bad name. They're trying to give an Ankh the bad name. Whether it's a cross, a crucifix, an Ankh. See, that's the symbolism. Again, we're too caught up in the rituals and the symbolism and not behaviors. We're not making distinctions. So all of this different information is getting collapsed together and it confuses folks. It's not the person. It's not because no information belongs to any one person. Just like fruits and vegetables and raw fruits and vegetables, you're not a messiah. Nobody owns that. Nobody owns that. I don't own fruits and vegetables. I don't own the stuff that comes out of the ground. I just nurture it and it comes out. We are severely lacking in common sense, which is why a beautiful thing, FYI, about a garden, because the garden is not, it's what you put in is what you get out. And sometimes you can put everything in and all the seeds don't bust. It's like if we just go to some common sense things that will teach us common sense. What you put in is what you put out. Some things that will foster a work ethic. But handing your life over so you can be controlled by others is not what's up. It's not what's up. It's not what's up. You know, we're safe right now. I'm not walking in fear. I will not be silenced. I mean, hey, I got one of my machetes, right here. And it's like when I'm dealing with a snake in the garden, I say, oh my God, do it again. You know what? When they had to knock a snake, that's what time it is. Me eating fruits and vegetables and all of that, reality check. If you got to knock a snake, you got to defend yourself. That's what you have to do. It is not time for us to be sitting around complacent. We can't get our nails dirty. We can't sweat out our hair because it's not feminine and we won't be chosen. It's not that. It was never that time. It was never that time. Being complacent is not serving us. Handing over responsibility for decision-making to other people and other leaders and gurus is not cutting it. We are at a disadvantage. It's just folks making you feel good. And you got to keep coming back for another hit of feeling good. That's why it's beyond the labels of vegan and cruelty free. If you're doing all stuff, you don't know how to, fruits and vegetables, you can't treat people with respect and you can't stop scamming people. Who cares what you're eating? You need to shut down the channel? Shut the channel down. You're not going to silence me. And if you come for me, I will deal with you accordingly, regardless of your color, regardless of your hairstyle or your rhetoric. It's not that time anymore. It's not that time anymore. Do your research, Black folks. Learn how to read people. Give yourself enough time to learn to get to know people, because you don't, and you're most likely not going to know them. So being that you can't know everyone, have some clear agreements with some consequences in it. If you're going to get into these relationships, young people, for the person that has their daughter, start having some conversations about exit agreements. If you're looking to get married, or business agreements, if should it not work out the way that you wanted to, what are going to be how monies, resources will be divided. Make clear agreements with people so you don't get manipulated. And this is basic life skills and business. But some people, some of us haven't been schooled on this stuff. Some of us haven't had these conversations. We're not stupid just because we may be, ignorant of certain things. But it's high time for us to put our thinking caps on and use common sense in a very tangible, real way. Preaching is not going to help you if you don't have anything to put into application. If you can't grow a garden, if you can't feed yourself with it, if you can't see how to ward off a predator with it, what's the use of me sitting here talking to folks that I can't see behind a screen? You know what I'm saying? So hopefully this communication will be of value to someone, to a young person. Do feel free to check in on our safety and be concerned about the safety of all the women and the girls and the young people in our vicinity, because that's what we need to spread. And the tangible way what that looks like is a vetting process, clear agreements, and holding people accountable. Scammers must be held legally accountable. We don't have a country right now in a security system on army. So what we got to work with is what we got to work with. Don't feel any shame about holding people legally accountable, because people and predators only understand consequences, financial consequences and physical consequences. That's what they understand. Predators only understand consequences. They are relentless. So there has to be a consequence. Educate yourself. Learn what to look for in your dealings and relationships. That way we don't have to be distracted by all this drama and your doctrine or your label. You want to call yourself, you're from this camp or that camp. Just keep it to the basics. Just common sense. Common sense. What you can do is you can feel free to DM me. I don't know if this channel will still be up. I don't even know, all the different ways, but you can send a direct message, or you can send an email. For right now, while this channel is up, I think that there's an email, address right there to look in. But beyond the email, check the embassy. But I'm not looking. I don't even know all the ways. But I know things have to translate into something tangible, because we are so, understandably, we're an emotional people, and a lot of that emotion has to get channeled into something tangible that we can use for our security, our health, and our economics, and how we eat and being safe and secure, right? If it's not tangible, it's a fantasy. And that's how I'm watching all of these young people get manipulated, because they're not making distinctions, because a lot of them they either traumatized or they don't have certain life experience yet where they can compare and contrast the mind game that's being run on them. So that's why it is important to make every effort to articulate ourselves, give examples, and translate the communication into something tangible. Now, I don't have all the answers. What can you all maybe you could come up with an idea for, how to check in on us and keep us safe. And that could sprout off into an idea for a network to keep all women, girls, and children safe. That could sprout off into us developing a code of ethics in terms of dealing with each other financially. I don't have all the answers. I can introduce the conversation. At least I'm having the conversation. So it's not, Calvin, I really appreciate it. So I don't know so much that it's that I need anything. Um, and I thank you so much. Thank you. And Cash App or PayPal, I've never asked for donations, and I don't know that that's a priority. Me asking for a donation. I'm a responsible woman and I'm a responsible mother. You can't put a dollar value on that. So I'm not actually asking for that. I don't know that that's what they need. Our main concern is security. Main concern is people educating themselves. The main thing is creating a climate where women and girls in our community and children can feel safe, because those children, the girls and the boys are going to grow up into young men and potential fathers. And if they are traumatized and they're messed with, that it sends a ripple effect throughout our whole community. So I don't put everything on this particular social media, because I know, I'm very well aware, again, folks, you're not thinking like a predator, and most likely you won't. You're not thinking like a con artist or like a predator. They're not thinking like the average person. That is an error to think that they are thinking like the average person. They are master manipulators. It is an error to think that you have necessarily one up on a predator. Your best one advantage you do have is to speak up, is to not be intimidated, to ask questions, and to hold people accountable, right? Legally and financially. Legally and financially. So if you want to send an email, perhaps we can communicate offline. I don't know if there's something else that we can come up with, but the main concern is safety, security, legalities. If people have any resources or recommendations for holding these cult leaders legally and financially responsible, that would also, thank you very much. That would be very, very, very helpful. So if someone has resources like that, in terms of things where these people could be held legally accountable for what they're doing. And that's one of the reasons I spoke out, to draw attention. People say negative about, speak negatively about social media. But if it wasn't for social media, I sat in the embassy and there's no recourse in another country. We have these fantasies about going to other countries. We're looking at the fantasy part and thinking that, it's fields of fruits and vegetables. But, we're not looking at it from a common sense point of view. So, I'm a woman, I'm a mother, I'm a community mother. I'm here to share whatever. If I'm sharing with a young person, that could be me. That's me in the next generation. It's beyond the offspring that I have. That's what I would want somebody to do for me. I had a couple of godparents that I'm so fortunate they gave me a couple of some common sense gems inside of my head to look for. And these cult leaders would try to wipe away your name and your history and any of the positive that you did get. Even if you had somebody that they smoked and drank, that wasn't the most perfect human being. My godparents taught me, look at the gifts that you got from your mother and father or your situation. Look at the gifts. Look at the resilience you got. That's one of the best gems they could have ever given me. I got that before I went to the cult leader. Way before. That was something I was fortunate enough to have encountered in some folks that were older than me in my community. And the interesting thing is they said, no, you don't ever put us on a pedestal as no priest or no priestess or whatever like that. There was a elder brother, elder sister guide. Oh my gosh, they were so full of common sense. Doesn't mean I still wasn't ignorant of some things and I got taken to school. But I'm so grateful that I had some people that gave me some common sense gems that they stuck in my head. So when something didn't seem right, I was like, either I've seen this before, I've heard this before. It's the pattern. So I'm sharing so people can recognize patterns. And I'm hoping that folks that have grown up in cults or related to these cult members don't take it personal. It doesn't have anything to do with you. If you're related, or even our community, we got folks that's doing dirt. They're still, whether they're black or not, these are human beings. They're flawed human beings and human beings with a lot of trauma that would turn around. Either people are going to do two things. Either you'll be a champion for young people not to experience trauma, or you'll turn around and inflict your trauma on other people. Black brothers and sisters should come to the islands at a U.S. position first to get insight on how to live in the Caribbean. I live in the Caribbean. Born and raised, I hear you. You know what? There's so much common sense to be had on all the different sides. So I'm not one. I love, my culture. I have Black I like to say Afro culture in the States and also in the Caribbean. Those southern Black folks in the South American South, so-called Indigenous American South, and the Caribbean. I'm not into necessarily dividing us because we have different cultural and ethnic groups. Even within our communities, not all of us share the same values. But we're making the Pan-Africanism and consciousness, it's become something else other than common sense. So there's a lot of gifts. My godfather used to tell me, we won't get respected by Africans because we don't know what we've done. We don't pay homage, and it's understandable, to the accomplishments we've had in the Americas. Somebody tried to tell me something about Black Americans, but I'm thinking like, yo, but a lot of folks go to the States also to get an education, and it wasn't for Rosa Parks, a lot of folks wouldn't be able to get an education. So we have folks throughout the diaspora in Jamaica and in Haiti or Haiti. It's all Afro folks. When some folks is coming after you, they don't really care what your accent is. So I'm not here to necessarily divide us, and I can recognize the gifts and the strengths, of the experiences in the bush, in the Caribbean, climbing trees, and the resilience of growing up in the hood, or if you grew up in middle class, working blue collar Black folks or educated. All of us. That's all the fabric of who we are. We take the best and leave the rest and learn, from our experiences. But all the so-called consciousness stuff has become something else, of these universal truths, by just people looking to just make a fast buck and manipulate folks. I'm not saying that folks shouldn't earn an honest living, but the manipulation of women and girls has to stop. And it's not going to happen unless women speak up and say something and feel like your voice is valuable, and feel like, yo, I'm speaking because that's me that I'm speaking to these young people. It's not about being older and being jaded. There's a difference between jaded and somebody kicking some straight wisdom for some stuff they realize you haven't seen or you haven't encountered yet. If you don't encounter it, it's great. But when you don't have the eyes yet, you're wide open. You're wide open. So yeah, there's a lot of experiences that we have to share in terms of strength and resilience, whether it's from Haiti, the Caribbean, Africa. It's not like that one is better than the other. I think that's a trap we can fall into. And believe it or not, a lot of these so-called cultural conscious folks, it can be used either way, to bring us together or to divide us into different camps. So there's some lessons that are here for us to learn. So yes, I'm going to look to shut this channel down. There have been moves made to shut this channel down, as if, I'm being harassing and I'm speaking my truth. But funny, when somebody's speaking against the so-called white man in the system, that's not considered harassment, right? But when it's coming from within our community, it's an issue if you speak out. And how dare I as a woman, and how dare as I, not an elder, which I'm not a small child, how dare I speak out? How dare I, as Black American women, we have the worst attitudes. But when it's convenient, we're revolutionary and we speak up. And when it's convenient and me sending money there and doing fundraisers for the vegan basketball team, just me and my sister, and selling your books to my clients and working the street, it's not a problem there. You're a freedom fighter. But when you speak up within your community, then you're a traitor and so on. You don't mistreat people that come giving. The mistreatment is gonna stop. It may not be everybody that's gonna speak up, but there will be somebody and there will be some folks that are gonna speak up and hold these people accountable. So if that resonates with you, so be it. Safety is a priority. A phone call, some research. Educate yourself. So that's so valuable. Educate yourself so you can see the patterns. Because if folks would take the time to educate themselves, and yes, look at the white coats, but look at the variety. Stand back, suspend your preferences. Look at the Black coats, churches included. Look at them. Don't be afraid to look at what's going on in our own community. Look at the molestation. Are we going to continue to overlook it? That's dirt in our house. That's dirt in our house that hasn't been handled. I'm not saying lynch anybody. Look at it and let's hold folks accountable. Prevention is better than cure. But in order to prevent a lot of this stuff, it will call on us to be responsible. Responsible for vetting, thorough research, setting a standard for researching folks, being responsible for your genitals, your finances, your attention, not accepting everybody's doctrine because it sounds great. That's about the best I can say for folks. If folks want to send me an email to contact me offline, that's best. It's not the best thing for folks to be conversing and putting all their information out online. I think it's actually quite dangerous for young women, girls to be putting all your information out online and social media. It's like open to, it's just like predator central. And it's not to have people freaked out on fear mongering, but it's a reality of the climate that we're living in. And some people are merely entertained. You know, the only reason for putting certain things out is so people can see patterns and so they can be educated to avoid and see, you know, what are some next steps. I don't have all the solutions, but I will not be silenced. I will speak my simple experience and my truth. My truth is not up for debate. I'm not asking for any permission or any validation to speak. They're trying to divide us possession of a passport. That's a good point. And folks can get passport cards to travel. I'm not sure if that's just, but I really appreciate that. I really, really appreciate the insight. I don't know everything. I'm just here to share my simple truth. I encourage people to travel and perhaps create a purpose for your travel, or just a vision, you know, for your lives. Just don't put your, I encourage people to respond, rather than say what not to do. Be responsible for your life and the life that you want to create for yourself. Work with what you have from where you are. Use the resources. You know, someone that's traveled a decent bit, I went all the way around the world to watch other people really enjoying their family and their communities. And even in the States, you have access. Everybody has something. Everybody's looking at the next good thing they have, the better. You have access to libraries, to parks, to education. Everybody has something that they have that they can use to leverage in their environment. You can grow fruits and vegetables from wherever you are. You can travel. You have the opportunity to make money and save money. These things are not rocket science, you know. And if we can quote that we're kings and queens and all these aunts, you know, it's for us to have responsible behavior, not only for us, but for the young people that are coming up behind us, you know, just to clean up our act. So it's good to travel and create connections, but even wanting to connect with people in the Caribbean and Africa, vet everybody and have backup plans. You know what I'm saying? Because you don't know people, and you're gonna go travel and you're gonna stay. You have your passport and your passport card. Make sure you have enough money. I've said it before: a plane ticket, people to call, phone card in another country. Know you're staying. Research, you know, what's going. It may seem like you're doing too much research. It's not. Research the people you're going to stay with. Have clear agreements when it comes to finances with people, so you don't put yourself in these situations. You young people trying to meet people online, always tell somebody else, even women that are older, tell somebody else where you're going, just in case, as a backup plan. Because people also have a tendency to treat you differently when they know somebody else is looking out for you and when there's going to be a consequence. When somebody, co-leaders quite often know that nobody's coming to look for you. Nobody's coming to check for you. That they can't be bothered, or your parents can't be bothered. You know what I'm saying? So they're banking on no one coming to look for you. So make sure don't totally erase all of your, I invite you, I can't tell grown folks what to do, not to erase all of your relationships, because you might need somebody to make a phone call for you, or, you know, assist you in orchestrating something, because another country is not the United States. You know what I'm saying? We want to be very, very practical when thinking of traveling, just using our common sense so we can be safe and secure and take care of our financial responsibilities, and not creating a whole bunch of situations that we can't get out of, that we're tied now to people because we're anchored in with babies, or anchored ourselves in with a whole lot of stress of diseases, or messed up our credit, or psychologically we got into something that we hadn't bargained for. You know, it's all of these different things to consider. So, you know, hopefully this is valuable for some folks. I'm going to sign off and invite folks that, in spite of whatever is going on, to intentionally create a great day.